Commander Vex-Nine floated in the command pod of the Eternal Drift, his 6 tentacles twitching with what humans might call anxiety. Well, if humans were still the primitive cave dwellers they were supposed to be. The bioluminescent patches along his cranial ridge pulsed a nervous amber as he stared at the third planet from the local star. Status report. Navigator Yick. He gurgled through his breathing apparatus. Navigator Yick's massive compound eyes swiveled toward the commander. Her species had evolved on a world with 17 moons, so keeping track of multiple data streams was second nature. Sir, long-range sensors confirm it. The planetary surface shows massive electromagnetic signatures, geometric structures. And she paused, her mandibles clicking uncertainly. Artificial satellites orbiting the planet. Satellites? Vex-Nine's voice rose an octave, causing his translator to emit a high-pitched whine. That's impossible. Our records clearly state this world harbors primitive bipeds who just learned to control fire. Science Officer Quid 7 slithered over, his serpentine form coiling around the central console. His species prided itself on logic and precision, which made his next words all the more troubling. Commander, I've run the calculations 16 times. Our last visit to this system was exactly 30,000 Earth rotations ago. The species we cataloged then showed no signs of advanced cognition. And now? Vex-Nine asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. Now they appear to have developed nuclear fusion, space travel, and what looks suspiciously like quantum communication networks. Quid 7's scales shifted to a pale yellow, the color of academic confusion. Sir, I believe we may have miscalculated. The command pod fell silent, except for the gentle hum of life support systems. Vex-Nine's tentacles writhed as he processed this information. The Galactic Council had sent them on what was supposed to be a simple retrieval mission. The survey ship Wandering Thought had crashed on this backwater world 30 millennia ago during a routine mapping expedition. The crew had been evacuated, but the ship itself, with all its advanced technology, had been left behind. Standard protocol when dealing with pre-industrial civilizations. Show me the crash site, Vex-Nine commanded. The main viewing screen shimmered to life, displaying a bird's-eye view of what appeared to be a massive excavation site. Hundreds of the bipedal creatures swarmed around a partially unearthed metallic structure. Vehicles that definitely hadn't existed 30,000 years ago moved dirt and debris with mechanical precision. Oh, wonderful, Vex-Nine muttered. They found it. Communications Officer Blep 4, whose species communicated primarily through bioluminescent patterns, suddenly blazed with urgent purple stripes. Commander. Incoming transmission from the planet's surface. It's directed at us. That's impossible. Our cloaking systems are, sir. They're hailing us on subspace frequency 947.2. That's a restricted Galactic Council frequency. The silence stretched longer this time. Finally, Vex-Nine straightened his posture as much as his gelatinous form allowed. Put them through. The screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at a human female with short brown hair and eyes that sparkled with unmistakable intelligence. She wore what appeared to be a white laboratory coat over blue clothing. Behind her, other humans bustled about with equipment that looked suspiciously advanced. "Hello there," the human said with a smile that somehow managed to be both friendly and slightly predatory. Dr. Elena Vasquez, director of the Extraterrestrial Archaeology Division. "We've been expecting you." Vex-Nine's breathing apparatus made a sound like a deflating balloon. "Expecting us?" "Oh yes. Your ship's computer core was surprisingly chatty once we figured out how to interface with it. Lovely quantum encryption, by the way. Took us about 15 years to crack. But humans are persistent like that." Dr. Vasquez gestured to something off-screen. "Your navigation logs were particularly interesting. 30,000 years is quite a long time to leave such advanced technology lying around. Don't you think?" Navigator Yick leaned closer to her console, her compound eyes focusing with mechanical precision. "Commander, I'm detecting massive energy signatures from the crash site. They've integrated our technology into their own systems." "Integrated?" Vex-Nine's voice cracked again. Dr. Vasquez nodded enthusiastically. Reverse engineered would be more accurate. Your fusion core design was brilliant, though we did make some improvements. Efficiency increased by roughly 300%. Your computer systems helped us develop our quantum internet. And don't get me started on what your gravitational field generators did for our space program. Science Officer Quid 7 Scales had turned a sickly green. Commander, according to standard Galactic Council protocols, this situation qualifies as a Class 7 cultural contamination event. I know what it qualifies as. Vex-Nine snapped, then immediately regretted it. Losing his temper in front of the crew was unprofessional. Losing his temper in front of humans who had apparently reverse-engineered Galactic Council technology was potentially catastrophic. Dr. Vasquez tilted her head with curiosity. Class 7 cultural contamination event? That sounds serious. Is that like when you accidentally give primitive species technology that advances their civilization by several thousand years? How did you Vex-Nine started? Then stopped. You translated our protocols too. Your computer was very cooperative once we explained that we were trying to return its lost crew members. Dr. Vasquez's smile widened. Speaking of which, we've prepared a rather special welcome for you. I think you'll find our planet has changed quite a bit since your last visit. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the command pod in stunned silence. Communications Officer Blep 4 pulsed a series of worried orange patterns. Commander, I'm detecting multiple spacecraft approaching our position. They're using modified versions of our own propulsion technology. How many? Vex-Nine asked weakly. 17 vessels, various sizes. The largest appears to be roughly equivalent to a Council battle cruiser in terms of power output. Navigator Yick's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation. Sir, they're not approaching in an attack formation. It looks more like an escort pattern. An escort pattern, Vex-Nine repeated numbly. He turned to his crew, all of whom were displaying various species-specific signs of panic. Recommendations? Science Officer Quid 7 uncoiled slightly, his logical mind still functioning despite the circumstances. Sir, we have 3 options. We can attempt to retreat and report this situation to the Galactic Council. We can attempt to negotiate with the humans, or we can surrender and hope they're feeling merciful. Merciful? Vex-Nine's tentacles twitched. They're pre-industrial primitives. Earths were pre-industrial primitives, Quid 7 corrected. Current evidence suggests they've undergone rapid technological advancement. They may now qualify for Galactic Council membership under Article 47 of the Advancement Accords. The implications hit Vex-Nine like a meteorite to the brain. If the humans had achieved sufficient technological advancement, they could petition for Council membership. And if their advancement was based on stolen Council technology, Commander, Communications Officer Blep 4 interrupted, blazing with urgent red patterns. The human vessels are powering weapon systems, but they're not targeting us. They're creating a defensive perimeter around our ship. Defensive? Vex-Nine blinked his primary eyes. Against what? Against what? His question was answered moments later as Navigator Yick's instruments screamed with proximity alarms. Commander, multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace. Council vessels, sir. Enforcement Division. The main screen split to show both the approaching Council fleet and the human escort formation. Vex-Nine counted at least 30 Council ships, their distinctive angular hulls bristling with weapons systems. This is Admiral Keth Prime of the Galactic Council Enforcement Division. A harsh voice crackled over the communication system. Surrender immediately. You are in violation of the non-interference directive and will be taken into custody for trial. Dr. Vasquez's voice cut through the official transmission. Eternal drift. This is Earth Defense Command. We're detecting hostile vessels in our system. Do you require assistance? Vex-Nine stared at the screen in disbelief. The humans were offering to protect them from the Galactic Council. The same Galactic Council whose technology they had stolen and improved upon. Commander, Science Officer Quid 7 said quietly. I believe we may have underestimated this species. You think? Vex-Nine muttered. He looked at his crew. Then at the two fleets facing off in space above the blue-green world that was supposed to contain nothing but primitive cave dwellers. Open a channel to both fleets. The screen now showed Admiral Keth Prime's stern reptilian features alongside Dr. Vasquez's amused human face. The contrast was striking. The Admiral looked like he was carved from granite and fury, while the human scientist appeared to be enjoying herself immensely. Admiral Keth Prime, Vex-Nine began formally. I am Commander Vex-Nine of the survey vessel Eternal Drift. We are here on a legitimate salvage mission to retrieve Council property that was abandoned on a protected world in violation of every Council regulation regarding primitive species. The Admiral snapped. Your negligence has caused a Class 7 cultural contamination event. The penalty is dissolution of your species' Council membership and exile to the Outer Rim. Dr. Vasquez raised her hand like a student in a classroom. Excuse me, Admiral, but I think there might be some confusion here. Commander Vex-Nine's crew didn't abandon that technology intentionally. According to the logs we recovered, they were forced to evacuate during an emergency. The decision to leave the ship behind was made by someone called High Command. Admiral Keth Prime's scales shifted to a dangerous red. Human, you will not interfere in Council justice. Actually, Doctor, Vasquez said cheerfully, I think we will. You see, we've spent the last 30,000 years thinking we were alone in the universe. Imagine our excitement when we discovered not only that we weren't alone, but that someone had thoughtfully left us a starter kit for advanced civilization. That technology was not meant for your species, the Admiral growled. Well, no, Dr. Vasquez agreed. But finders keepers, right? Besides, we've made so many improvements that calling it your technology is a bit of a stretch at this point. Navigator Yik leaned close to her console. Commander, the human vessels are charging weapons systems. Energy output is significant. Science Officer Quid 7's scales had gone completely white. Sir, those aren't just modified Council weapons. They've integrated multiple technologies into hybrid systems. Their firepower appears to exceed Council standards by a considerable margin. Admiral Keth Prime evidently came to the same conclusion, because his next words carried considerably less authority. Human, we are authorized to use whatever force necessary to contain this situation. Dr. Vasquez nodded sympathetically. I'm sure you are. The question is whether you're prepared for the consequences. You see, Admiral, we've had 30,000 years to prepare for this moment. We always suspected someone would come looking for their lost ship eventually. The space around Earth suddenly filled with activity. What had appeared to be asteroids revealed themselves as hidden weapons platforms. Cloaked vessels materialized throughout the system. The planet's surface bristled with energy signatures that made Vex-Nine's tentacles curl in recognition and terror. Planetary defense grid is online, Dr. Vasquez announced casually. Orbital bombardment platforms are charged and ready. Our deep space monitoring network has been tracking your approach for the past 6 months, Admiral. We know exactly how many ships you brought, where they came from, and how long it would take reinforcements to arrive. Admiral Keth Prime's image flickered as his ship's systems apparently struggled with some form of interference. This is impossible. No single world could stand against the Council fleet. You're right, Dr. Vasquez agreed. No single world could. But Earth isn't fighting alone. The space around the system filled with new contacts as ships began dropping out of hyperspace. Not Council vessels, but craft of designs Vex-Nine had never seen before. Sleek, organic-looking vessels that moved with fluid grace. Geometric ships that seemed to bend space around them. Others that appeared to be constructed from living crystal. Commander, Navigator Yik whispered, I'm detecting at least 300 vessels of unknown design. Energy signatures are unprecedented. Dr. Vasquez's smile had become positively shark-like. Allow me to introduce our friends, the Kepler Collective, the Proxima Centauri Alliance, the Wolf 359 Federation, and about 40 other human colonies that have been very interested in meeting their creator's former associates. Vex-Nine felt his breathing apparatus malfunction as the implications sank in. You've colonized other systems? Did we not mention that? Your ship's navigation computer had the locations of several nearby habitable worlds. We've been spreading out for the past 5,000 years. Lovely neighborhood, by the way. Very peaceful. At least it was until today. The tactical situation had shifted dramatically. What had begun as a simple enforcement action was now a standoff between two major powers, with Vex-Nine and his crew caught in the middle. And somehow, impossibly, the humans appeared to hold the stronger position. Admiral Keth Prime's image stabilized, but his confident demeanor had evaporated like atmosphere from a breached hull. This is a trick. Primitive species cannot achieve interstellar colonization in mere millennia. Dr. Vasquez chuckled, a sound that somehow managed to be both warm and terrifying. Admiral, with respect, your definition of primitive might need updating. We've had some very motivated teachers. She gestured toward the screen showing the partially excavated alien vessel. Your ship's educational databases were quite comprehensive. Commander Vex-Nine watched this exchange with growing fascination and horror. His species had served the Galactic Council for 12,000 years, always following protocols, always maintaining the proper hierarchy. Yet here were these upstart humans treating a council admiral like an equal. Worse, they were doing it successfully. Sir. Yes, sir, Science Officer Quid 7 whispered, his scales now cycling through colors Vex-Nine had never seen before. I'm analyzing the human vessel configurations. They've integrated at least 7 different council technologies, but the power outputs suggest they've solved fundamental efficiency problems that have plagued our engineers for centuries. How is that possible? Vex-Nine muttered. Navigator Yick's compound eyes swiveled toward him. Commander, humans appear to have a different approach to technological development. While council species tend to specialize, humans seem to synthesize. They're not just using our technology, they're combining it in ways we never considered. The standoff continued as more ships arrived on both sides. Admiral Keth Prime's fleet had grown to nearly 60 vessels, but the human alliance now boasted over 400 ships of various designs. More concerning was the fact that many of these vessels appeared to be using technologies that weren't in any council database. Dr. Vasquez, Admiral Keth Prime said, his voice attempting to regain its authoritative tone, surely we can reach some accommodation. The council is willing to overlook certain irregularities in exchange for peaceful cooperation. How generous, Dr. Vasquez replied dryly. What exactly are you offering? Junior membership in the Galactic Council, trade agreements, cultural exchange programs. Dr. Vasquez turned to someone off-screen and had a brief, whispered conversation. When she turned back, her expression had hardened. Admiral, we've been monitoring your communications. We know about Resolution 4847. Vex-Nine's tentacles went rigid. Resolution 4847 was classified at the highest levels. How could the humans possibly know about it? Admiral Keth Prime's scales shifted to pale yellow, the reptilian equivalent of going white with fear. That resolution is classified. Was classified. Dr. Vasquez corrected. Your quantum encryption is impressive, but we've had 30,000 years to work on code breaking. Resolution 4847 authorizes the complete sterilization of Earth's biosphere if human technological advancement is deemed a threat to council supremacy. The command pod of the Eternal Drift fell silent. Even Communications Officer Blep 4 stopped pulsing, her bioluminescent patterns frozen in shock. Admiral, Dr. Vasquez continued, her voice now carrying a steel edge that made Vex-Nine's breathing apparatus wheeze. Did you really think we'd negotiate with someone who came here planning genocide? The resolution is merely a contingency, Admiral Keth Prime protested. Standard protocol for potential threat species. Standard protocol. Dr. Vasquez repeated the words like they tasted bitter. Well, Admiral, let me share some of our standard protocols with you. The space around Earth suddenly blazed with energy as massive weapons platforms emerged from concealment. Vex-Nine recognized the basic design principles, but the scale was beyond anything in Council archives. Each platform appeared capable of destroying a full fleet. Those are planetary defense cannons, Science Officer Quid 7 said weakly. But the power signatures, Commander. Those weapons could crack a moon. Could crack a moon? Dr. Vasquez had apparently overheard the comment. Officer Quid 7, isn't it? Your species has such a wonderful grasp of physics. Yes, those weapons could crack a moon. They could also crack planets, if necessary. We call them world breakers. Admiral Keth Prime's fleet began to shift formation, moving into a more defensive posture. Human, you're making a grave mistake. The full might of the Galactic Council will take approximately 4 months to assemble and reach this system. Dr. Vasquez interrupted. We've run the calculations. In 4 months, we'll be ready for them too. But honestly, Admiral, I hope it doesn't come to that. Then what do you propose? The Admiral asked. Dr. Vasquez smiled, and this time it was genuinely warm. A conversation. A real one. Between equals. Commander Vex-Nine, would you and your crew care to join us planetside? As guests, not prisoners. Vex-Nine blinked his primary eyes in surprise. You're inviting us to Earth? Why not? Your people made an honest mistake 30,000 years ago. You're not responsible for the Council's current policies. Besides, she grinned, we have something that belongs to you. Navigator Yeek leaned closer to her console. Commander, she's referring to the crew of the Wandering Thought. According to the salvaged logs, 17 crew members were placed in emergency stasis when the ship crashed. You found our people. Vex-Nine's voice cracked with emotion. Found them, revived them, and learned quite a lot from them over the years. Captain Moore 8 sends his regards, by the way. He's been helping us understand council culture and politics. Fascinating fellow. Did you know he holds advanced degrees in xenobiology and comparative philosophy? The implications were staggering. The humans hadn't just reverse-engineered council technology, they'd had actual council citizens helping them for millennia. No wonder their advancement had been so rapid and comprehensive. Admiral Keth Prime's image flickered again. This is intolerable. Those crew members were presumed dead. Their knowledge of Council's secrets has been invaluable in helping us prepare for this moment. Dr. Vasquez finished. Admiral, your Council abandoned those people to die on a primitive world. We saved them. The question now is whether you're going to make the same mistake twice. What mistake? The Admiral demanded, underestimating humans. The space battle that everyone expected never materialized. Instead, something far more dangerous occurred: negotiation. Admiral Keth Prime, faced with overwhelming odds and the prospect of explaining to the High Council how he'd started an interstellar war, agreed to a temporary ceasefire. Commander Vex-Nine found himself in a shuttle, descending toward Earth's surface alongside a small diplomatic party. The planet below was nothing like the primitive world described in the original survey reports. Cities of gleaming metal and crystal stretched across continents. Orbital elevators reached into space like silver threads. The electromagnetic signatures that had first alerted them were now revealed as a planet-wide energy grid of staggering sophistication. Beautiful, isn't it? Dr. Vasquez commented as their shuttle approached the landing facility. We've worked very hard to balance technological advancement with environmental preservation. Your people's ecological databases were tremendously helpful in that regard. The landing facility was itself a marvel of engineering and seamlessly integrated into a natural landscape that had been carefully maintained despite obvious technological enhancement. As they disembarked, Vex-Nine was struck by the diversity of the welcoming committee. Humans of various ethnicities stood alongside beings he didn't recognize at first. Commander Vex-Nine, a familiar voice called out, and Vex-Nine turned to see a figure he recognized from old Academy records. Captain Moore 8 approached, his movements showing the careful gait of someone who had adapted to a different gravity over many years. Captain, Vex-Nine managed, his breathing apparatus producing a sound somewhere between relief and disbelief. You're alive. Ik des. You're alive. Very much so. Captain Moore 8 replied, his translator carrying warmth that transcended species barriers. Though I must say, these humans have given me quite an education over the past few centuries. Did you know they've solved the quantum consciousness problem? The what? Science Officer Quid 7 interjected, his scales cycling through rapid color changes. Dr. Vasquez gestured toward the diverse group surrounding them. Why don't we show you? It's easier than explaining. They were led through facilities that defied easy categorization. Part laboratory, part cultural center, part something entirely new. Along the way, Vex-Nine began to understand what he was seeing. The non-human figures in the welcoming committee weren't aliens at all. They were humans, but humans who had been modified, enhanced, evolved, genetic adaptation for different environments. Dr. Vasquez explained casually. The colonists who went to high-gravity worlds developed enhanced skeletal structure and muscle density. Those who settled in aquatic environments gained improved lung capacity and modified limbs. And the deep space explorers. She gestured to a group of beings who seemed to shimmer with their own internal light. Well, they've adapted to life in zero gravity and hard radiation. You've spatiated, Science Officer Quid 7 said in wonder. In 30,000 years, you've begun splitting into multiple subspecies. Not splitting, Dr. Vasquez corrected, expanding. We're still one people, just adapted for different environments and purposes. Your genetic databases showed us how other council species had done something similar over longer timeframes. We simply accelerated the process. They entered a vast chamber where holographic displays showed star maps spanning hundreds of light years. Red dots marked council territories, but blue dots now far outnumbered them, spread across previously unexplored regions of the galaxy. This is why the council is really here, Captain Moore 8 said quietly. Not because of violated protocols or stolen technology, because in 30,000 years humanity has become what the council fears most: competition. Admiral Keth Prime's voice crackled over the communication system that had been set up for the negotiations. The Galactic Council has maintained peace and order for over 50,000 years. We will not allow that stability to be threatened by an aggressive expansionist species. Dr. Vasquez laughed, a sound that held no malice but plenty of amusement. Admiral, with respect, your council has maintained stagnation. When was the last time a council species made a major technological breakthrough? When did you last explore beyond your established borders? When did you last encounter something that challenged your assumptions about the universe? The silence that followed was answer enough. We're not your enemies, Dr. Vasquez continued, but we're not your subjects either. We're your future. The question is whether you want to be part of that future or cling to a past that's already ending. Over the following days, negotiations continued. Not the formal, protocol-heavy discussions typical of council diplomacy, but something more organic. Human scientists shared discoveries with their council counterparts. Council philosophers debated ethics with human thinkers. Engineers from both sides collaborated on projects that neither could have conceived alone. Commander Vex-Nine found himself in conversations that challenged everything he thought he knew about galactic civilization. The humans hadn't simply copied council technology, they'd improved it. They hadn't merely explored nearby systems, they'd established thriving colonies that were already launching their own exploration missions. Most significantly, they hadn't repeated the council's mistakes. Your council species maintained separation, Captain Moore 8 explained during one of their private conversations. Each species specializes in particular fields, trades with others for what they need, but maintains distinct cultural and genetic boundaries. It creates stability, but also limits growth. And humans do things differently? Vex-Nine asked. Humans synthesize. They don't just trade technologies, they combine them. They don't just form alliances, they create new hybrid cultures. They don't just adapt to environments, they transform both themselves and their surroundings. Captain Moore 8 gestured toward the viewing window, where Earth hung in space surrounded by its defensive fleet. In 30,000 years, they've become something the galaxy has never seen before, a truly adaptive species. The final negotiation session took place not in the formal chambers that had been prepared, but in a simple garden on Earth's surface. Representatives from both sides sat in comfortable chairs, sharing food and drink while they discussed the future of galactic civilization. The Council cannot simply ignore 30,000 years of precedent, Admiral Keth Prime insisted, though his tone had lost most of its earlier hostility. We're not asking you to, Dr. Vasquez replied. We're asking you to evolve. Your council has done wonderful things, but it's become rigid, scared of change, scared of growth. And what do you propose? Dr. Vasquez smiled. Partnership, real partnership. Not council dominance with token representation for new species, but genuine cooperation between equals. Joint exploration missions, shared research projects, cultural exchange programs that actually mean something. The High Council will never agree to such terms, Admiral Keth Prime said. Then perhaps it's time for a new council, Captain Moore 8 suggested quietly, one that includes all the species who want to move forward together. The negotiations concluded with an agreement that surprised everyone, including the participants. The Galactic Council would undergo restructuring, with human representatives given full voting rights and significant influence over future policies. In exchange, humanity would share its technological innovations and agree to joint exploration of previously unknown regions of the galaxy. More importantly, both sides agreed to abandon the old model of rigid species separation in favor of something new, genuine interspecies cooperation and adaptation. As Commander Vex-Nine prepared to return to his ship, he reflected on the extraordinary events of the past few days. His simple salvage mission had become something unprecedented, the beginning of a new era in galactic civilization. Commander, Dr. Vasquez called out as he reached his shuttle, "One more thing." "Kate." She handed him a datapad containing technical specifications that made his breathing apparatus wheeze with excitement. "The improvements we made to your fusion core design. Consider it a welcome gift to the new partnership." Vex-Nine stared at the specifications, then at the human scientist who had just casually handed him technology that would revolutionize Council engineering. "Why?" "Because 30,000 years ago, your people made a mistake that changed our entire civilization. Now it's our turn to change yours." She smiled. "Besides, we have a galaxy to explore together. We're going to need all the help we can get." As the eternal drift departed Earth's system, Vex-Nine looked back at the blue-green world that had upended everything he thought he knew about the universe. The humans had been right about one thing: they were the future. The question was whether the rest of the galaxy was ready for it. Navigator Yek turned from her console, her compound eyes reflecting the light of distant stars. "Course set for Council space, Commander. Estimated arrival time, 6 standard days." "Thank you, Navigator." Vex-Nine settled into his command position, tentacles still twitching with residual excitement. "I suspect the High Council is going to find our report very interesting." Science Officer Quid 7 scales had settled into a steady gold color, indicating satisfaction with a problem well solved. "Sir, do you think they'll accept the new partnership terms?" Vex-Nine considered the question seriously. "They'll have to. The alternative is watching the galaxy change around them while they cling to outdated traditions." He gestured toward the retreating image of Earth on the main screen. "The humans were right about something else, too. Evolution isn't optional. It's inevitable." As the Eternal Drift jumped to hyperspace, carrying news that would reshape galactic civilization, the last thing Vex-Nine saw was the blue dot of Earth, surrounded by the lights of humanity's defensive fleet. 30,000 years ago, his people had left behind a crashed ship and fled from what they thought was a primitive world. Today they were returning home as partners with a species that had transformed not just themselves, but the very concept of what it meant to be truly advanced. The great miscalculation, as historians would later call it, had ended not with the punishment of the careless, but with the elevation of the extraordinary. And in the vast expanse of the galaxy, new adventures were just beginning.